Forget everything Hollywood ever taught you about Roman gladiators. Forget the chiseled abs of Russell Crowe. Forget the bronzed, meat-devouring warriors tearing into roasted boar by torchlight. Forget the lean predator physiques that have haunted our imaginations for decades. The real men who stepped onto the blood-soaked sand of the Colosseum were nothing like that. They had a nickname, whispered by Roman poets and carved into the historical record by Pliny the Elder himself. They were called the hordearii, the barley men. And what they actually ate before fighting to the death was so bizarre, so counterintuitive, so shockingly unlike every movie you have ever seen, that modern scientists refused to believe it until bone chemistry proved it beyond any doubt. In a forgotten cemetery on the western coast of Turkey, in the ancient ruins of Ephesus, archaeologists uncovered 22 gladiator skeletons. Isotope analysis of those bones rewrote everything historians thought they knew about the most famous warriors of the ancient world. This is the real menu of the arena, counted down from 10 to 1, and the truth is stranger than any fiction ever filmed. Number 10. Cheese and dairy, the secondary calcium source that quietly helped build the gladiator physique. While grains formed the foundation of their diet, gladiators leaned heavily on dairy as a backup supply of calcium, packing on the protective bulk their profession demanded. Trace mineral analysis from the Ephesus skeletons revealed elevated markers consistent with regular dairy consumption, a finding that directly contradicts the lean warrior physique Hollywood has sold us for generations. Roman shepherds across Italy and Greece produced hard, aged cheeses that could be stored and shipped in bulk to the ludi, the massive training schools where gladiators lived. These were not delicate indulgences. They were calorie-dense tools used to thicken the muscle and pad the body in preparation for combat. And the scientific evidence carved into the skeletons themselves confirms what the Hollywood blockbusters refuse to show. They drank milk and ate cheese, and their bones remember every single bite. Number 9. Olive oil, the ancient calorie bomb that drenched nearly every meal inside the walls of a gladiator training school. Romans produced olive oil on an industrial scale in Italy, Greece, and Spain, and gladiators consumed it with a frequency that would shock any modern dietitian. It was drizzled onto porridge, poured over beans, used to fry vegetables, and even scooped straight from the amphora as a pure fat source. For men whose entire profession required deliberate weight gain, olive oil was a shortcut to extra calories without the need to chew through more food than their stomachs could handle. Before a fight, gladiators rubbed it across their bare skin, sometimes mixed with fine sand, creating a slick coating that also made their muscles gleam under the arena sun. It was fuel, medicine, and armor all in one golden liquid. Number 8. Honey and posca, the ancient world's answer to the modern sports drink. Honey was the closest thing the Romans had to an energy gel, a concentrated rush of quick-burning sugar that gladiators consumed before training sessions and before stepping into the arena itself. But the more fascinating drink was posca, a mixture of sour wine or vinegar cut with water, sometimes seasoned with herbs or honey, which served as the standard hydration ration across the entire Roman military and gladiatorial world. Roman soldiers drank it on the march. Gladiators drank it between sword drills. It provided electrolytes, acidity that helped preserve it in the heat, and just enough calories to sustain hours of brutal training. Modern sports scientists have studied posca and found that its composition closely mirrors modern electrolyte beverages. 2,000 years before the invention of Gatorade, Roman fighters were already pounding back a homemade version on the edges of the training yard. Number 7. Garlic, onions, and fennel seeds, the trio of stamina boosters Roman physicians swore by. Galen, the most famous physician of the ancient world, personally treated gladiators in the arena city of Pergamon, and he prescribed these pungent ingredients routinely, Garlic was believed to boost endurance and fend off infection in an age with no antibiotics. Onions were added to stews for flavor and for what Romans considered their strengthening properties. And fennel seeds served a very practical purpose, helping digest the massive meals heavy in beans and grains that gladiators shoveled down every single day. A man eating several pounds of fava bean mash washed down with barley porridge needed serious digestive help, and fennel was the answer. These were not exotic luxuries, but workhorse ingredients, cheap and abundant, lining the shelves of every ludus kitchen from Rome to the furthest provinces of the empire. Number 6. Oats and grain porridge, the slow-burning fuel that powered hours of relentless weapons training. While barley was the star of the show, other grains played crucial supporting roles, oats among them, blended into massive communal pots of the famous gladiator mash, known as sagina. Sagina was the heart of the ludus diet, a thick, starchy porridge that simmered for hours over wood fires, feeding dozens of fighters at a single sitting. These slow-burning carbohydrates released energy across the long training days when gladiators practiced sword strikes, shield work, and footwork drills from sunrise until the Mediterranean sun began to set. Grains were cheap, abundant, and shelf-stable across the Roman Empire, which made them ideal for feeding armies of professional fighters. Every bowl of sagina was calculated. Every spoonful was designed to build the body that would step into the arena and survive. Number 5. Dried fruits and figs, the portable sugar bombs tucked into gladiator rations before every fight. Figs were especially prized, dense with sugar, rich in calories, and easy to carry in small pouches into the holding rooms beneath the Colosseum. Dates, raisins, and dried apricots also featured heavily, providing quick bursts of energy in the final moments before the gates opened and the sand called. A gladiator standing in the tunnel, listening to the roar of 50,000 Romans overhead, could reach into his satchel and pull out a handful of dried figs to steady his blood sugar and sharpen his reflexes. These pre-fight sugar rushes were calculated and deliberate, not casual snacking. Roman medical texts describe the use of dried fruits as performance aids for both soldiers and arena fighters, and the archaeological evidence of fig remains in gladiator barracks confirms that these sweet bites were not rare treats, but daily rations. Number 4. Bell beans, or fava beans, were the protein half of the legendary gladiatoria sagina. Boiled into a thick mash and mixed with barley, the vicia fava bean dominated Mediterranean agriculture for centuries, and it found its largest consumer in the gladiatorial schools of the empire. High in protein, high in carbohydrates, and extraordinarily cheap to produce, these beans were grown across Roman farms and shipped in bulk to the ludi, where massive cauldrons transformed them into the bean and barley slurry that built gladiator bodies. The combination was nutritionally brilliant for the era, providing a complete amino acid profile when paired with grains, exactly what the body needs to construct muscle. It was the original bodybuilder meal, prepared 2,000 years before the invention of the protein shake. And the scale of consumption was staggering, with ancient records describing bean stockpiles large enough to feed a small town. Number 3. Wood ash tonic, the shocking ancient sports drink that sounds more like a witch's brew than a performance supplement. After intense training sessions, gladiators drank a concoction of charred wood and crushed bone ash stirred into water or vinegar. It looked disgusting. It probably tasted worse. But it worked. The ash functioned as a potent calcium and magnesium supplement, critical for strengthening bones that absorbed the constant blunt force of sword and shield training. And the proof is literally in the skeletons. The 2014 PLOS-1 study by researchers Losch and Grossschmidt found exorbitantly elevated strontium levels in the bones of the Ephesus gladiators, a chemical signature that can only come from the regular consumption of plant and mineral ash. This was the world's first documented performance-enhancing sports drink, mixed in clay cups at the end of every training day, swallowed down by men who understood that their bones were the foundation of their survival. Number 2. Barley, the grain so dominant in the gladiator diet that Pliny the Elder literally nicknamed these warriors hordearii, the barley eaters. Barley was the #1 staple food of every gladiator in the Roman Empire, the cornerstone of every meal, the foundation of every calorie count. What makes this even stranger is that Roman legionary soldiers considered barley a punishment ration, a grain handed out to disgraced units as a mark of shame, because it was viewed as inferior to wheat. But inside the gladiator schools, barley was the king. Cheap, carb-dense, and available in staggering quantities, it was stored in massive grain pits at training schools across the empire. Archaeological excavations at Pompeii and Ostia have uncovered the scale of this consumption, with enormous storage facilities that could only have been designed to feed the endless appetites of professional fighters. Every gladiator who ever lifted a sword was, quite literally, built on barley. And now, number 1, the biggest myth buster of them all: no meat. Isotope analysis of those 22 gladiator skeletons at Ephesus revealed minimal traces of animal protein, the kind of chemical signatures you would expect from a nearly vegetarian population. Despite being the most elite warriors of the ancient world, despite facing death on the sand with every performance, gladiators ate almost no meat at all. The Hollywood image of the carnivorous Roman fighter tearing flesh from bone is a pure fantasy. The reality, carved into the chemistry of their own bodies, is that these men lived on grains, beans, vegetables, and ash. The Ephesus cemetery provided the definitive scientific proof, published in peer-reviewed research that stunned the archaeological community. Across dozens of remains, the pattern held: plants, grains, minerals, almost no flesh. The most feared killers of the ancient world were built on a diet that would make a modern vegan nod in approval. And here is the twist that changes everything. Gladiators were not supposed to look like movie stars. They were intentionally fat. A thick layer of subcutaneous fat covered their muscle, and this was no accident. It was engineered nutrition. That padding protected nerves and major blood vessels from sword cuts during a fight. A slashing wound that tore through fat created a dramatic gush of blood, thrilling the crowd, staining the sand red, making the fighter look mortally wounded, while the actual damage remained shallow and survivable. Carbohydrates and an ash tonic created the strangest performance diet in human history, sculpting bodies designed not for beauty, but for survival. Real gladiators looked less like Russell Crowe and more like sumo wrestlers, thick, heavy, padded with fat, and fueled by barley. The legend was a lie. The science is the truth. And the barley men of Rome just became the strangest athletes who ever lived.